When did you find out that Agostinho Neto was your father? When was that?
I was 15 years old, just soon after I've left the orphanage, and I have to search through the police to find my mom. And after I've met my mom, we had a conversation about myself, and I wanted to see if she would like to have me back, but she said she wouldn't because she had a family and children, and also she didn't want to have any involvement with me whatsoever. Yes, and after we spoke with my mom, she told me who my father was. At the time when she told me my father's name, she didn't actually mention anything about him being the president. That I've only discovered later on through the Angolan students. After I went into the house, Mr. Ngola introduced me to the first person, and that was Miss Ruth Neto herself. And she said, Michaela, this is Senhora Ruth Neto.
Agostinho Neto's sister.
I couldn't avoid to see her shock on her face after she saw me. Her reaction was like she had seen a ghost or something, because soon afterwards she just left the room. That was like seconds later she just left the room. South Africa, I've only spent one night, and we stayed in the same hotel, me and Mr. Francisco Ramao. The next morning he came and he said, right, Michaela, we're ready. We have to take you to the clinic where the blood test will be. After the DNA test was done, the blood was taken from me. Francisco Ramao took me to the airport. I believe it is Johannesburg. And then he left me on my own. I couldn't have found my flight. He just
calling the doctors, to find out the results of the DNA test. And like you said, 3 months later, you finally received it. Can you tell me what was written in that piece of paper? Was it positive or was it negative?
In that piece of paper,
Mwangole,
Aos 5 dias de idade, foi rejeitada pela mãe e entregue a um orfanato, onde permaneceu até aos 15 anos de idade. Nesta altura, perdida e desamparada, Micaela decidiu procurar as suas raízes, a família que nunca teve e muito menos conheceu. Com a ajuda das autoridades, Micaela reencontra-se com a mãe. Esta, por sua vez, a rejeitou novamente porque não queria que a família, seu marido e filhos soubessem que no passado ela esteve envolvida amorosamente com um negro. Mas diz a filha que este negro, este africano, seu pai, chama-se Antônio Agostinho Neto, o primeiro presidente de Angola. Rejeitada pela pessoa que a trouxe ao mundo, claro, a sua mãe, abandonada à sua sorte e sem quaisquer recursos, com apenas 15 anos de idade, Micaela Marinova lançou-se numa batalha titânica para conhecer o seu outro lado, o lado da sua família paterna, a família de Antônio Agostinho Neto, e por conseguinte ser oficialmente reconhecida como sua filha. Foram vários anos, ou seja, décadas de uma luta intensa para conhecer a família de Antônio Agostinho Neto. Finalmente, depois de vários encontros com altas figuras do Estado angolano, Micaela Marinova, ou seja, em 1999, Micaela Marinova foi levada de Harar, no Zimbábue, à Pretória, na África do Sul, pelo falecido Francisco Romão, na altura vice-ministro das Relações Exteriores de Angola, para fazer aquilo que ela tanto almejava, tanto queria. Os testes de DNA para provar que é filha de Agostinho Neto. Os testes foram feitos e qual foi o resultado? Positivo, negativo, ela é ou não filha do primeiro presidente de Angola? Minhas senhoras e meus senhores, este é o segundo episódio da série Micaela Marinova, a outra filha de Antônio Agostinho Neto. Mas antes, por favor, não se esqueça de partilhar o vídeo. Se ainda não está inscrito no nosso canal, inscreva-se agora, ponha um like e, é claro, deixa aqui a sua participação, os seus comentários.
You were calling the doctors, to find out the results of the DNA test. And like you said, 3 months later, you finally received it. Can you tell me what was written in that piece of paper? Was it positive or was it negative?
In that piece of paper, the results which I've got right here was inconclusive. And I can just read to you what exactly it says there.
Okay.
On the 11th of November 1999, on the outcome results, disputed paternity, the Silva Neto versus Marinova. On the letter that the doctors have signed, he's written, please find attached a copy of results received from Medgen and CC. You will note that no conclusion could be reached as to whether or not the biological father of Irene da Silva Neto and Mário Jorge da Silva Neto could also be biological father of Micaela Marinova.
So,
and that is based on...
Can you repeat that? So this says that they could not, determine whether or not you are Agostinho
Neto's daughter. Biological, yes. So what they're saying here is that they cannot determine that I am Agostinho Neto's daughter because based on that Maria Eugenia Neto is not my biological mother. So if you were to read here, those are the 4 probes only taken from that test. And later on, when I did ask for an advice, a specialist, he actually said that this is the most ridiculous DNA test ever he's seen.
Why?
Because it's not completed, and there should be more than 10, if not 12, even more further probes. He said that if the father's not present, father's passed away, the mother of the children shouldn't be really there. The person should have been here, would have been more ideally to be Ruth Neto herself, after herself had suggested the DNA test to be done.
Because she's a blood relative,
yes.
Blood relative.
Yes.
Okay.
And because his children, it could be determined whether those children of Agostinho Neto and myself are related through Ruth Neto herself, who's got that blood, which related to my father. As we know, because Maria Eugenia Neto is just the wife of Agostinho Neto, that test cannot be completed, determined. It can only determine that she's not my mother, but this is not what we're looking for, like I said.
So it means that Maria Eugenia Neto also did provide blood samples for the test.
Yes, from the names here given, yes, she also provided. So therefore, this is where it's very important also to just note, because based on that, you can actually see here, I'm going to read it out. In the DNA profile analysis, the children, Irene da Silva Neto, Mário Jorge da Silva Neto, possessed all the obligatory alleles contributed by their mother, Maria Eugenia Neto. The probe, THO, excludes Maria Eugenia Neto as biological mother of Micaela Marinova, which we all know. So therefore, no conclusions could be reached as to whether or not the biological father of Irene da Silva Neto, Mário Jorge da Silva Neto, could be also biological father of Micaela Marinova. So, in other words, the test was done in the interest of somebody. I could not tell whether there was another test which was actually positive and they just covered up, because that's not what they wanted.
Because this one doesn't say negative.
That doesn't say negative, and this is again the question. If that doesn't say negative, why is the president of Angola being told that the result is negative? And this is where I would like a further test until it's proven. Because, like I said, if I'm not his daughter, I would take full responsibilities for all the claims and all the image of the person I have damaged. I just want to mention something. I strongly believe if I wasn't the Agostinho Neto's daughter, that test would have come out big as a negative, and I would have known. I don't know who's behind it, but I know, and I still believe I'm the daughter of Agostinho Neto.
Have you ever thought why the Agostinho Neto's family is making things so difficult for you? Because I mean, if you are Agostinho Neto's daughter, and I can see from everything that you've been telling me and the papers that I've got in front of me, I'm almost certain that you are Agostinho Neto's daughter. And I'm almost certain that there is a people in Agostinho Neto's family that also believe that you are one of their own.
I've always tried to put through my mind everything. I try to put everything together and try to think why and why it hasn't been done. I mean, having met Ruth Neto in Zimbabwe, I know the woman came to see me because she herself believed I'm the daughter of Agostinho Neto, but she had to see me in flesh. Being sent the pictures to her, she's seen them, she came to see me afterwards, and I could see all that expression on her face. I knew that even then she acknowledged that I am the daughter. The DNA test was just a formality for her, I would say, to see it. But I strongly believe that the person who's influencing this outcome is the wife of my father. Because, like I said, on that DNA test, she shouldn't be there. I mean, a powerful family as them, they could hire any lawyer and any medical DNA test, whoever examiner, and they can tell them how a DNA test can be really done, appropriate, and be established, the result in a matter of weeks. Because that's how long it takes. But for this took 2 months to be established, which that's not, again, real. I personally believe that he is Maria Eugenia Neto, because also later on I did come across this incident where the Bulgarian ambassador called me in Harare and he said he had to speak to me one-on-one, but actually it wasn't one-on-one. He spoke in front of my husband and in front of the consular, and he threatened me. He said he received a phone call from Angola, from Maria Eugenia Neto, who said to make that girl shut up, otherwise she's going to go dead.
This is from Maria Eugenia Neto?
That's Maria Eugenia Neto, according to the Bulgarian ambassador. And again, I'm not hiding anything here, because when after a few years back, I went back to Bulgaria.
Michaela, can you just pause there for a minute, yeah? So that people can understand, and even myself, I need to understand that, Throughout all these years, you've been living in Bulgaria, isn't it? But all of a sudden, we are talking about Zimbabwe. So, did you go to Zimbabwe to get this issue sorted out? Why did you go to Zimbabwe? Because it seems to me that you spent a considerable amount of time living in Zimbabwe. So I just want to kind of...
Yes, in Zimbabwe, I went there because I was married to Zimbabwe, and I lived there for 4 years. Okay, that's fine. I also found opportunity to contact the Angolan embassy straight through from there, because, like I said, it was convenient to contact the Angolan embassy because there was one in Harare. Okay. And yes.
As you said, you got the phone call from the Bulgarian ambassador.
Yes.
To tell you to stop all these claims that you are Agostinho Neto's daughter.
He threatened me through her, yes. He said I have to stop doing what I'm doing, otherwise I will disappear.
And he said to you that this is is coming from Maria Eugenia Neto?
Yes. He said the wife of your father, whoever you're claiming to be your father, Maria Eugenia Neto, phoned me, and that came on the back of, which I'm going to show you, on the back of this story, which was published in Zimbabwe. Soon after the DNA test, I did try to battle. As you can see, this is the year 2001, January the 17th. That's over a year after the DNA test results came out. I've been trying for over a year to contact the family in Ngola, but there wasn't any reply. They just went cold, like I didn't exist. They just completely shut me out.
After the DNA test?
After the DNA. So
none of them contact you?
No, nobody. So what happened was, I went back to the media and they published this story, and like I say, you can see 2001, the 17th of January. And my claim here, again, which many would say is quite brave, I actually went even beyond to ask for my father's body to be exhumated, to take the proper DNA test in a proper way, because all you can do is you can actually take a hair from the person's head and you can establish. You don't need to do much. I mean, we all know the person's died. You have to respect that.
Yeah.
But you don't want to make a joke from somebody's name. So they let this story go beyond. If they have dealt properly with this matter, that matter would have finished way back, and nobody would have known, and there wouldn't be anything. Like I said, I've taken all the consequences. After this story came out in Zimbabwe, I received a month or two later a call from the Bulgarian ambassador, when he said to me, I would like to meet you in person because I've got to discuss something with you. To that point, I was actually a bit shocked, because I've never received a phone call from a Bulgarian ambassador in Zimbabwe for any reason. So when I went there, I went with my husband. In his presence, in the office, he threatened me, and he said that Maria Eugenia Neto had phoned him, and she said that Michaela needs to stop saying things, otherwise she's gonna die. If that is the case, let's say I'm lying, why they don't come forward and take me to court and sue me for lies? Because then the court will only make one decision. If she's claiming to be the father of this person, let's find out if she is first. Yes. So I'm in my full right to claim to be the daughter of one of the Angolan's most famous person.
Yeah.
And that will carry on as long as I live. So unless they put this matter to an end.
Michaela, it has been quite a long time ago since you were told Agostinho Neto is your father. And, I just want to find out, is your pursuit to be recognized as his daughter motivated by any financial gain? No, because many people may ask, this question.
Of course. I have to say, many people believe that, yes, they believe if there's money. To me, I have to say, money was never the reason why I was looking for my father. The reason, if any of these people who think it might be money, they will be wrong. Because what did motivated me to find my father, and like I said, when I was looking for my father, it all started through my young years in the orphanage, because I had to identify myself. I have to find my roots. I have to find who my father was. I have to find his family. I have to find everything about myself. Like today, I'm not complete myself, because I'm still, that part of me is missing. So that's something it cannot be replaced by money. Even if the family, which they did try through Ruth Neto when I was in Zimbabwe, she did try to give me money through Mrs. Chungulolo. In my presence, she gave me like hundreds of US dollars in my hand, which I refused.
When was that?
That was when I met Ruth Neto in 1998. And when I asked why they're giving me the money for, and Miss Chungulolo said, no, Ruth Neto wants you to have this money because she wants to make sure you have good clothes and get yourself what you want.
But was it in cash, share?
In cash. It was cash. It was cash. It was quite a lot of money in cash. So my motivation to prove I'm Agostinho Neto's daughter is not about money. And I told that Ruth Neto when we sat on the table in 1998. It is purely who I am. I mean, if I'm like, I believe strongly I'm my father's daughter, then I've got that same quality he had. My father was never about the money, even though he had the power. I'm not myself materialistic person. I'm happy what I've got even now, and I have to say I would never want to actually replace this life to any life the sisters and brothers in Angola have. I just want to be proved that I am the daughter of Agostinho Neto for the sake of my daughter, who keeps asking about her grandfather. She knows that I'm a black person. She wants to know where this black root comes from, and she wants to know more about myself. I can't tell her more about myself if I can't actually belong somewhere. Yeah. And this is what actually it's all about. And the family might think it's about money, but it isn't.
Micaela deixou claro que ao longo destes anos todos não procura ser reconhecida como filha de Agostinho Neto para obter ganhos financeiros. Como ela disse, é uma questão de identidade, é uma questão de pertença, conectar-se às suas raízes, preencher as páginas vazias da história da sua vida. Outra pergunta que não se cala, não se calou durante estes anos todos é a questão das aparências. Parece-se ou não a Agostinho Neto? A ser verdade, se é de facto filha de Agostinho Neto, será que ela herdou algum traço físico de Agostinho Neto?
For those who don't believe I'm Agostinho Neto's daughter, I do want to show some few resemblance that I have with him. And I've got the same teeth as my father. And I've got the birthmark on my lip, which my father and his sister Ruth Neto both have.
You mean the birthmark on your lip?
On my upper lip, yes, I've got birthmark Agostinho Neto had on the same side, and Ruth Neto has. Also, I mean, I can show you my hands, which is Agostinho Neto's hands. I've seen the pictures. I mean, those are the same hands, the bones you can see. I mean, that's more than anything, just speaks for itself. If you put me one-to-one properly next to him, I mean, you can see so much of the resemblance I just have with my father.
Ela não ficou por aí, não descansou, não limitou-se ao teste de DNA, cujo resultado foi inconclusivo, ou ficar simplesmente nas aparências, nos traços físicos que ela acredita ter herdado de Antônio Agostinho Neto. Diante de um silêncio tumular por parte da família de Antônio Agostinho Neto, Micaela Marinova decidiu confrontá-los na cara, dente por dente, olho por olho, desta vez em Luanda, Angola.
When I went to Angola, I went in 2004. So that's quite long way after the DNA test. I went there on my own initiative. I have to work hard to save money because the ticket isn't very cheap to Angola. When I arrived in Angola, it happened to be just 4 days. The Angola National Day is the 11th
of November.
I arrived in Angola on the 7th of November. So it was actually 5 days before the actual Independence Day, to which actually I went, where I took pictures of in front of my father's statue. But anyway, so and also when I went there.
From Zimbabwe?
No. I traveled through
from
Europe.
From Europe. Okay.
Yes, I traveled to Angola, and when I went there, I've only had one thing in my mind, is to meet with my father's family, whoever, Ruth Neto, her sister Irene Neto. I never planned it. I didn't want to meet any of his children to that time, but I did make contact and I spoke on the phone with Ruth Neto again. At the time she wasn't feeling very well, she was ill. But I did ask her, and I could tell even over the phone she was a bit emotional, but she never put the phone down on me. She was always answering the phone when I phoned her. She knew I was in Angola because I phoned her and I told her I'm in Angola and I've got 1 month visa to stay here. So I would like to meet with you and the other members of the family and to discuss the DNA test, because I still do not agree that you haven't answered to me why you haven't contacted me back since the DNA test is inconclusive. And she said to me, Ruth Neto, over the phone, she said, yes, the family will meet here. You just have to wait and give us a time. And we're going to sit with you and we're going to try to discuss the whole matter again. At that time, I just believed, oh, that's better, because I'm there, they know I'm there, so they can come to me and make effort. But that wasn't the case. I was waiting and waiting. I even went on to, on suggestion on somebody, I emailed Irene Neto, the daughter of Agostinho Neto. I emailed her and I introduced myself. At that point, I didn't know whether she knew about my existence, but I introduced myself and I said I would like to meet her. And she sent me an email back. She said, okay, Michaela, I will meet you when I've got the time. I went and I met with Irene Neto in her office in Luanda and we sat to talk.
Sentaram para conversar. Depois de muitos anos de luta, Micaela Marinova finalmente estava frente a frente com uma de suas irmãs, supostas irmãs. Neste caso, a senhora Irene Neto, Irene da Silva Neto. Era tudo o que Micaela buscava, era tudo o que ela almejava. Este era o seu grande sonho, ser recebida pela família que nunca teve. Mas exatamente o que aconteceu durante esta conversa? Abraçaram-se, beijaram-se, choraram, alegraram os corações, ou, mais uma vez, Micaela Marinova foi rejeitada? As respostas estão no 3º episódio da incrível história de Micaela Marinova, a outra filha de Antônio Agostinho Neto. Não perca o 3º e último episódio aí a vir. Aí você encontrará as respostas. Até lá, não se esqueça de se subscrever ao nosso canal se ainda não está inscrito, deixar um like, partilhar, façam com que o maior número possível de pessoas acompanhem esta magnífica série, esta história incrível da outra filha de Agostinho Neto e, é claro, participe dos comentários. Festas felizes!
Mwangole